shit, man.
That's what he get for parking right there.
It's crazy, man.
Hey, ooh, wee.
So, first things first, Philadelphia Eagles are the Super Bowl champions of the world, as you can all see. Be doing a montage to my Philadelphia Eagles. My Eagles, fly on the road to victory. Anyway, enough of that. Welcome everybody that's here. I don't know who's here yet. It's been a while since I actually clowned around on StreamYard, so a lot of changes were made, and I'm trying to see, just like that, I knocked myself out and knocked myself back in, but everything I already had queued up, I don't have queued up anymore. Isn't that great? Anywho, yeah, hey, Wind Whispers. Yeah, I knocked myself out of here for a few seconds. Like I said, Wind Whispers. StreamYards has done some upgrades here. Apparently, the last live stream I did was the passing of Real Entertainment News, aka Lefty, aka Kareem, aka please rest in peace, Real Entertainment News. I did get some hate mail from that live stream. Most notably was that the audio was atrocious, which it was. I figured out what the problem was. But otherwise, someone said to me that I would never be the man that Real Entertainment News was. And I got to be honest, I didn't take that as an insult. I kind of was happy about that because I would never try to be the man that Real Entertainment News was. And the only man I would ever try to imitate would be Jesus, as he lived on earth. But anyway, enough of that. Let's see. Some things have happened since July of last year. So we're into March now, actually. Oh, before I forget, I need to post this. Because happy birthday, Teresa. I know it's still March 7th your time, but it's Saturday, March 8th here. It's actually 10:10 a.m. Saturday morning. Philippines is climate weather-wise, it takes some getting used to. I'll be here, it'll be 3 years in April, and I still haven't gotten used to the weather. They have two seasons here, unlike in America where you'll have your spring, your summer, your winter, your fall, and even no matter what part of the country you're in, the temperatures change reflective of those seasons. Here in the Philippines, they have two seasons: wet, which they call rainy season, where it rains generally often or commonly, and then they have dry season, which is their summer, which only lasts for about 3 months ish, and it is very hot. Rain does not happen as often as you'd like it to. because it's their summertime. But anyway, before I go into what's happened over the past 6 months, I did want to share something that happened with me uh, in the past week. So, you know, in the Philippines, I don't want to keep saying that, but just to give you guys an idea, a lot of people that retire from different parts of the world, America's Western world, I should say, they go to the major big cities like Manila, Cebu, Davao, Cagayan de Oro, Iloilo. Boracay is a retirement destination because Boracay is beautiful place, has white sand beaches, things like that. Uh, Nomad internet people, they'll usually travel to places like Cebu because that's like really tech savvy area. Well, tech savvy for the Philippines, let me put it that way. Uh, the rainy season would be my favorite. Love the rain and storms. Um, you'd probably like it. I mean, it's the rain is good. It's just I don't know. Sometimes it can be a pain in the neck. I mean, sometimes it'll rain too much and it'll damage crops. Nobody cares what I'm talking about with that. Wind whispers, you would like it here in the rainy season. I don't know anybody that would prefer to be here during the dry season, as they call it. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Um, most what they call people that migrate to another country, they're called expats. EXPATS, like expatriates or whatever, expats. But it applies like across the board, even if you're from like Australia or whatever. So if you're not in a big city, you're what they say you're living in the province. Provinces are equivalent to states or the provinces in like Canada, for example. And they're more rural. So to translate what it would mean to say I live in a province would be like saying I live out in the countryside or I live out in the sticks. I live out in the sticks. I live in the province called Bukidnon, and I live in a provincial or state capital city, but I live in a subdivision. And there's not a lot of foreigners where I live. However, I do come across a couple of them. There's a guy that attends my church. He's from South Carolina, and I have a neighbor that lives a few streets over from me, and he's from California. So I'm going to be talking about the neighbor from California. Now, he's considerably older than I am, and his wife is considerably younger than he is, which is definitely a common thing in the Philippines where you'll see younger women marry older men from other countries, and it kind of balances out. My wife's considerably younger than me. Actually, she's a lot younger than me. My wife will be 30 in June, and I will be, I'm already in my 50s, but it works. Anyhow, I'm trying to say this as delicately as I can, but still give you the understanding of the situation. So, one of the things that is a bonus for being here is that the cost of living is a million times more affordable than had I stayed in America. And that comes with the good and the bad. Um, but anywho, he's great. Like I call him uncle because he's like older, so I just call him Unc. And he calls me nephew. And his wife, he's been here for less than a year. His wife has three children, and You know what, that's a whole complicated story. I'm not going to get into about that. Anyway, one of the issues that concern me about his situation is that he makes his pension is higher than my pension, but his wife has him spending all of his money. Now, that's none of my business, and I'm not going to get into it. I disagree with that situation, but it's his. Cut to what happened this week. So he bought a soccer mom car because his wife has a tendency to invite as many of her relatives as she can into the subdivision. Now, when I say the province is considered like the country area where she lived at before she met her husband, would be considered cave dwellers. I mean, these people do not have running water. They still bathe and wash their clothes in the river. And I'm not saying because they like the natural run of the water. I'm saying because they don't have, where they live in that little village or whatever, they don't have a lot of infrastructure. Oh, wait. Special. Uncle Edwin. Thank you for coming in, Uncle Edwin. Oh, thank you for letting me on your live stream the other day. I really appreciated it. It's always a joy to be on your channel, sir. And I thank you for stopping by mine. So I have to be on my best behavior now because Uncle Edwin's in here. And, I don't want to say anything to, disappoint him. But anyway, let me give you a side piece to this story. Because of my, no, you know what? I'm going to go straight forward. I'm going straight forward. Going straight forward. Wind Whispers, you're right. It does seem like a gold digger situation. I totally get that. And they have a lot of Filipinas that like to scam people. I wouldn't consider her a scammer. What I would consider her to be is an opportunist. She's got this opportunity to be with this guy, and he has income, and he's buying her things she's never experienced before in her entire life. I get that. Only blessing I have is that, my wife came from a very good family. They didn't have much, but her parents gave her really core good values. Like, they don't ask for money. And everybody in her family works. Like, my wife worked until we got together because I couldn't be left alone. So when we became a couple, that's when she gave up her job, because I had an assistant here that in previous live streams I talked about how she was like Kathy Bates from Misery. So I needed to get rid of her anyway. So flash forward. I think my neighbor is starting to realize, because when we first met, he had rock solid plans on what he was going to do to build his future here. And none of those things have been able to come into fruition. And that's because as soon as his pension check comes in, she spent all of his money. And there's nothing worse than being in a foreign country with no money. Like, no matter what I do, I always make sure I put money in my savings account. And yes, Uncle Edwin, God bless you too, sir. God bless you. So last week, my wife had put on Facebook, because we're looking for a domestic helper. And we've had a lot of issues finding a domestic helper, housekeeper, house sitter. And see, I just got to be honest. A lot of people here, that has been my experience, a lot of people want jobs, but they don't actually want to work. And when I worked in America, that was my experience when I dealt with people that were looking for work. They like the idea of having a job, but when they find out, wait, I have to show up on time, and oh, wait, I actually have to do something, and oh, I only get 1 hour for lunch, like that kind of thing. And we've had some serious difficulties in dealing with those. So I'll give you the list of people that have come and gone since July of last year. Part of the reason why I wasn't able to do live streams is because there was an issue. Because of my condition, which is chronic severe post traumatic stress disorder, it's also caused me to now have OCD, bipolar disorder, ADHD, and high blood pressure. Hey, you, happy birthday! Yeah! Happy birthday, Mr. President. No, I'm kidding. I'm not Marilyn Monroe. Anyway, the first one we had here actually asked if, because we live in actual city, the people that were coming here were coming from my wife's home village, which is on the verge of becoming an official city because of the population surge and their infrastructure and things to that nature. But it's not yet, and it's still rural. Consider it like the third largest city, no, like the fifth largest city in Arkansas, kind of small. So the first one that was going to come here, and before I continue, let me explain what you would have to do here as a domestic helper. Your day starts at 5 a.m. It starts at 5 a.m. because that's the time it comes to feed the dogs. We have an Oscal, which is a native Filipino dog. I have a Rhodesian Ridgeback, which is the size of like 3 linebackers on 4 legs. And then I have my service dog, which is my Cayenne Bacon. They're on an eating schedule, a feeding schedule. So they eat at 5 a.m. So, domestic helper gets up at 5 a.m., feeds the dogs. After that, I got a 2-bedroom house. Kitchen, outdoor patio, outdoor garden area, and a bathroom. That's the dynamics of the house. You can sweep the floor or whatever, mop the floor, go outside. If the dogs who are outside the night before, because the only one that stays inside at night usually is a Cayenne. And that's helped me if I'm having an anxiety attack because she's a service dog. But, you go out, you sweep outside or whatever. Then that's it. I may not eat until like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and it's usually something simple. Bacon and eggs, oatmeal, what have you. So you cook breakfast, wash dishes, everything's good. If laundry needs to be done, you do the laundry. The bathroom needs to be clean, you clean the bathroom. That's it. Pretty much the rest of the day is yours till dinner time. You feed the dogs at 5 o'clock. I usually take my shower around 5:30, eat around 6:30, and then I'm going to bed. And then the rest of the day is yours. So basically, you're working at most 6 hours a day. So that's what is laid out today. So the first person that asked for the job was my wife's sister's girlfriend, who had visited many times before. And so I thought this would be something good. She asked if she could bring her niece with her because she was hopeful that, if her niece was here, her niece could go to a better school because it's in the city. And where she was, education is not a priority. So her niece didn't know how to read or write. So I said, no problem, because they get their own room. And in the guest bedroom, there's a bunk bed. So like, you take one bunk, your niece takes the other bunk, who cares? And I love children anyway. So she brings her niece here, and Florian, who used to teach Sunday classes at Sunday school at her church, took the opportunity. Oh, you're welcome. Hello, where's Juilliard? Is he around? So, what was I talking about? Oh, she came with her niece. I went to the mall. We bought a lot of primer level school supplies, like the primer books, those types of things. Florian, is my wife's name, was starting to teach her on a regular basis. And she was actually, I don't know how they do it here because there's multiple languages in the Philippines. Their primary language is Tagalog, which is universal. Their second official language in this country is actually English. And then the third language is kind of a split, a hybrid between Cebuano and Visayan, which is equivalent of American English and then Australian English. Like there'll be slight nuances, or Puerto Rican Spanish and Dominican Spanish. The gist is the same, but there might be certain nuances in there that if you're not native, you may not understand. You had to wait 10 minutes. Oh, shame, shame, shame. So, Florian speaks four languages because she speaks English language. Well, English is her fourth language, actually. She speaks Visayan, which is the regional area of the island we're on. Which, to give you some kind of idea, the island I live on is where Manny Pacquiao is from, if you know about boxing. The other thing is she spoke Visayan Tagalog, which is the universal Filipino language. And then she speaks her indigenous tribal language. And then she speaks English. And it took me a minute to appreciate just how difficult that has to be to one person can be talking to you in Tagalog, the other person can be talking to you in Visayan, and I can be talking to you in English, and you're translating simultaneously. And it's got to go through your brain, filter, translate before you get to say it to other people. Anyhow, that's a little backstory on my wife. Now, he was a great boxer. Man, Pac-Man, oh yeah. So what we found out once my wife's sister's girlfriend was staying with us was that she was a party girl, which we did not know. And the ability to go and get drunk and party all the time, I don't think she really liked, especially because, it wasn't just her. She had her niece now. So she left. And so after that, it's like, well, we still need somebody because the reason I need somebody here is because there are certain things that my wife may need to do. And I'm not able to go with her, pay bills or go to the store, go to the pharmacy, do whatever. And the other thing is, if we want to leave, for example, take a little mini holiday, we need somebody in the house because of the dogs. So it kind of works both ways. What I told everybody that I offered this job to is that there's a base pay, but the better your English is, the more money you can make. Because if I can communicate with you without having to have my wife translate, that makes everything easier. So if you know, speak more English, you make more money. The other thing I offered everybody that's taking a position here is that, hey, if you want to go to school, like college or whatever, I'll pay for it. Like, I don't have a problem with that. When I say that it's cost of living is really low here for my currency, it's really low and it's affordable. So I don't have a problem doing that. I'm big on education anyway. She agreed at first, then she changed her mind. So now we have to find somebody else. The next person was her best friend's sister, who actually worked overseas. So the Philippines has this program because their economy is so poor and the country is so poor. They actually send people overseas to get jobs. It's called Overseas Filipino Workers. It's called OFWs. Most of the people that take these positions are low skill jobs, um, farm workers, And I'm not talking like farm workers, like what you're like the farm workers that make clean chicken coops and just pull corn out of a cornfield or something, like low skills. Then you have your domestic helpers, and you have your nannies, things like that. The high end domestic helpers can bring about $600 a month. Not a lot of money, but for them it is. And then they can send that money back home, take care of their children, do whatever. So I always offer whoever comes here, because it's a live-in position. You don't pay for your food, you don't pay for your toiletries, you don't pay for your laundry, you don't pay for your Wi-Fi, you don't pay for your electricity. There's no deductions for any of that. You get your money, and it is, but that has to do with how the country's run, Teresa. I'm not going to touch too deep into that, at least not on this live stream. But there will probably be another time where I'll discuss that. So anyway, this woman came here. She had just did 2 years in Saudi Arabia as an overseas Filipino worker. I asked questions because I had a couple of girlfriends years ago from the Philippines that were OFWs, and they talked about their experiences. One had a very good experience, and one had a really bad experience. She told me, this particular worker that was coming here to be a domestic helper, she worked 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this was her job in Saudi Arabia as just a domestic helper. And over there, you're on call 24 hours a day. That's just how it is. Even on your day off, if they need you, they're going to call you, you have to go. So when I explained to her everything here, and she had children, and I said, listen, you can save your money because you don't have to spend any money on food. And when she came here, all she had were clothes and a backpack. And I'm like, do you need anything? And, she needed feminine, women stuff. So I said, Florian, when you go to the store, make sure you get whatever she needs. She lasted about 6 weeks. And while she was here, did not do a good job. It wasn't a terrible job, but it didn't seem like she wanted to be here. And I had to have conversations with Florian about this. And Florian was embarrassed by it. And Florian wanted to fire her. And I said, no, let's talk to her first. Because Florian had a certain level of expectation, because she knew when this woman worked overseas, if she didn't get it right, if they fired her overseas and she had to come back to the Philippines, the money that the agency that booked her to be the overseas Filipino worker would demand their money back. So you have to work. There's no way around it. But when she came here, there was this lackadaisical, almost as if this is my sister's best friend, so I don't have to do too much kind of attitude. Same thing we have in America, where you hire your nephew and he thinks I don't have to work because my uncle's, the boss. It was that kind of attitude. And initially, I'm like, I like to think a person may not know they're doing the wrong thing until you tell them. So after we talked to her, she said, okay, she got it. And it slightly improved. Slightly. And then she asked if she could spend the Christmas holiday with her kids back in the home village. And she said she wanted to leave December 16th and she would be back January 3rd. And she was like, I understand, you'll pay me up to the 16th and you'll start paying me when I come back. And I said, correct. And I said, if you want to go, that's fine. She left, and then all of a sudden, January 3rd turned into January 11th. And then January 11th turned into January 14th. And I always had the feeling she didn't want to be here anyway. Not that she didn't like it, like working here. She just didn't want to be here. I think, honestly, she missed her family. I don't have a problem with that. But I still need to have a worker here. I still need, you know, you to do what I'm paying you to do. So I said, when the day she was supposed to come back, we were expecting her that morning. She waited until like 5:30 that evening to say, I missed the bus, so I'll just be there Tuesday or something. To which point I said, I don't want her coming back. No, let her just stay where she's at. She seems happier there. So that fell through. So we're looking once again. So Florian on Facebook post or whatever. Oh, hold on. How hard is it to wake up, feed dogs, clean a couple of rooms, and cook? You'll pack my. Well, but that's just it. When whispers, it's not a hard job. If I wasn't disabled, I wouldn't have a housekeeper. You know, like that's the only reason I got one. Because if I need Floria to help me with my condition, I need somebody else around here. That's all it is. I mean, you're basically a glorified house sitter if you're working here. You know, there's no constant when, the food runs out, we go shopping for the month. So, when the pension check kicks in, it's already budgeted out, everything that goes where, your money for savings, your money for utilities, your money for this, your money for that. And there's money for groceries. We go to the mall, the supermarket's in the mall. You buy the groceries for the month. You come back, you put it up in the freezer, the refrigerator, your cupboards, or whatever. And I also ask whoever's working here, like, is there anything particular that you might like? And the only time I had to say no was my wife's sister's girlfriend, because she wanted booze. I'm like, well, an occasional beer, I got alcohol here, an occasional drink, but she drank. I mean, like, drank. Like made Dean Martin look like he was a teetotaler. Anyway, person number 3 we're looking for. Person number 3 is well, no, when she put the post back up in Facebook for her village, people were asking for the job. But before that, another friend of hers, the Liquid Diet, man, please. She was like a vacuum. Hey, there's my bro. Hi, Julie. What's going on, dude? How about those Jets, huh? No, I'm kidding. Sorry. So she had a friend that spoke good English, was computer savvy, lived in the major city in the northern part of the island where I used to go to do my visa extensions. And he seemed like a good guy. And I told him, instead of making you a domestic helper, you could actually work as my assistant. Because Florian enjoys cooking and cleaning. I don't understand it, but whatever. She likes it. I love it. So we would have it set up that way. And he would stay here when me and Florian had to, go away or whatever. He says, okay. I tell him to come here. I said, if you work for me as an assistant for a year, I'll show you different aspects of what you want to do. Business aspects, researching, preparing for college or whatever. And I said, I'll pay for you to go to college. And the only thing I'm asking for you is when you graduate from college, you don't leave the country. You stay here and help other fellow Filipinos. He said, great. I said, great. I'm getting excited. I got a guy that speaks English. Great. I mean, it's not even broken English. It's as good as Florian's. So I'm like, this is awesome. Wait, I knew that was coming up. That's all to read. Hey, hey, listen, I was the one that coined that phrase, motion sensor, temper. Because I've seen it, guy. I've seen it. It's, you don't want it. I remember when she was mad at me. And it was like, what happened? Anyway, he was supposed to come here. What I found out was that, not that I care. Let me stress that first and foremost. I didn't care. But I found he was gay. Didn't care. I'm still thinking, hey, I can still train this guy. His boyfriend at the last minute says, don't leave me. I'll support you. So he backs out at the last minute. So I'm like, okay, this is where I'm getting at, where I'm saying everybody that I've hired so far wants a job, but they don't want to work. Next up, this woman who lives in the same neighborhood as my wife's family came to the house, got on the phone, FaceTime, asked if she could take the job. I remember when she was mad at you, I was in trouble and I didn't do. Yeah, I remember when she was mad at me. I don't remember why, but I remember when she was mad. Then we went that whole time without speaking. And then I was like, this is stupid. I miss my sister. So I sent an email. And then we've been brother and sister again ever since. But yeah, she was hot with me. I mean, hot. I remember, man, I thought she was going to bust the vocal cord when she was screaming at me so loud. Yeah, look, guy, I get it. You want to keep that lion as peaceful as possible. But see, her birthday's March 8th. And you know what they say about March? In like a lion, out like a lamb. We want to keep her lambed up. Ashy? What does that mean? I mean, I don't put a lot of lotion on anymore because it's a moist tropical climate, but I wouldn't call myself ashy. Ashy. You're ashy. Take that. So, what are we up to? Person number four. Person number four is proactive, says, I'll take the job. Oh, we're the jerks. Okay. Yeah, you're being mean to us and we're the jerks. Oh, wait. Guy, I forgot. We have to keep her happy. Yes, we were the jerks. It was us. Guy, we can't be jerks anymore, okay? That was our fault that she was mad and she doesn't know why she was mad. It's our fault, okay? We just have to remember that. It's our fault. Oh, I'm sorry. Correction. We're jerk wides. We're jerk wides. She corrected me. Did that? It wasn't your fault that you didn't put that the first time, Teresa. It was our fault because we didn't know what you were saying. So. So, hold on a second. Let me see if I can do this. If Wind Whispers, Teresa, anybody, you guys want to, there's the link if somebody wants to step up on panel. It's open. So, we're on person number four. Person number four says they understood the details of the job. They had no problem. They were good in English, but they were still shy to speak it. Shy is a big thing here in the Philippines. Sometimes it's genuine where people are genuinely shy and they like put their head down and don't want to talk. And then sometimes people use that as an excuse when they don't want to do something. Why didn't you ask the person this? Oh, I'm shy. And they think that's okay. Anyway, I'm getting sleepy. Hey, I understand. Us women ain't gonna snap from that. Okay, let's address this for a minute. I'm not saying women can't get angry. I'm not saying women aren't right sometimes for being angry. Just tell me what you're mad about. I mean, give me like a floor to work with here. You screaming. And I'm like, huh, what? uh, okay, guys. Yeah, Wind Whispers, get up here. Hmm. I'm in her reach. Yeah, yeah. Be careful, guy. Be careful. I hear her reflexes are as fast as her temper. So you might get a combination, and it'll take 3 seconds before you realize you got hit. Person number 4 asked if she could come, was willing to come, understood everything. She had, I think, 4 kids and a husband, and she had a very lazy husband who was afraid of her father because her father actually got him a job at a poultry farm. And the whole time the guy was there, he was complaining about having to work. The owner heard him complaining, so he fired him. So, this person number 4, we said, sure, you come up, no problem. She came. The only thing she asked was, she said, can I bring my youngest child? I think she's got kids. I think one's like 16, one is, I think, like 13, and one is like 11 or something around there. And then she has a 2-year-old. So she asked if she could bring a 2-year-old. Like I said, I don't have a problem with kids. Kids are great. They actually give me motivation to get up and do something. So I said, sure, no problem. Again, bedroom, 2 beds. Guest bedroom, 2 beds. Plenty of room. She brings her daughter. Her daughter's here. Daughter's adorable. I find myself getting up. I'm all of a sudden, I'm watching Coco Melon and singing songs with her daughter. And we're playing around. She was afraid of the dogs because the Rhodesian Ridgeback, Brandon Graham, guy, you can attest to this. They don't understand the concept of gentle. They think if I can take it, everybody can take it. My other dogs, they're gentle, but when they bark, it's quite scary. So it kind of scared her at first. So the first couple days they were here, it was great. I go outside with the morning cup of coffee, watch the sun come up, and I'm noticing how clean the front yard, the garden, the back patio, everything's like really going, wow, this is great. Because the last time it wasn't that cool. With the other one that I had to say, don't come back. So, all of a sudden, the work kind of dropped just a little bit. I didn't notice it too much, but Florian did. And then Florian's telling me her husband, because she didn't have a phone when she came here. They had, but between the whole family, one phone. She left it there. But I got a bunch of old phones that I brought here. I got tablets that I brought here. So I let her use that so she could FaceTime on a regular basis with her family. And they still work. I just went Apple. And these are all Droid products, Samsung and Motorola and all that type stuff. Her husband, the guy that won't work, is on the FaceTime crying to her that if she doesn't come back home, he's going to commit suicide. If I'm making this up, may God strike me down. So she's severely stressed because it's like they have no money. Like in the mornings, she's got her kids going from house to house looking for food. Like my wife's family would feed them regularly. So this was kind of a win-win situation. You can work here. You don't have to worry about anything here. Even with your daughter here, all the money you make, you can send to your family. This guy's talking about committing suicide if she doesn't come back home. And I'm like, that's not a man. And she had to leave. I'm kind of conflicted about this, no pun intended, because I'm Christ conflict, but I was conflicted about this for a couple of reasons. The main reason I was conflicted about this is because I appreciate that she was with her husband for better or for worse. And in our day and age, a lot of people don't really cherish those wedding vows. On the other hand, nobody that threatens to commit suicide is really going to commit suicide. It's the equivalent of a child saying, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to hold my breath until I die, kind of thing. And that's what I thought it was. You're absolutely right. That's what he did. And here's the other reason I think he was afraid for her to be so far away. Her dad does not like him. And I think her dad is looking to beat him up. And she was the only barrier between him and belt to ass. So I think that played a role in it too. So she left and we gave her money, to go home. And I remember I heard her daughter, because her daughter used to call me Tito, which here means uncle. I'm like, Tito, Tito. And I was having fun. I got to be honest. Like, I was having a blast, being an uncle. And when she hugged me, my thinking is based on the same lines as you. Yeah. Well, you're a guy. You get it. You're a guy. Like it. Anyway, when her name was Lilith, that was the worker's name that came here. I remember when she hugged me, I could feel the sadness, and she just kept apologizing over and over. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. And I was like, it's not your fault. Like, I respect the fact that you're going back. I don't like it, but I do understand and respect it, because her kids that were still there were like, Mom, Dad won't stop crying and he keeps saying he's going to kill himself. So he's starting a suicide in front of his kids. Yeah, you're man of the year, aren't you? So Coco Melon is the bomb too. When they started singing about this is how we wipe our butts, like when we go potty, like that, I'm old school. I thought that was a bit much. But hey, if a kid's going to learn how to wipe their butt, I don't have to get, boo boo hands. Well, hey, it's something to consider. Because as a mother, I make sure my kids have food. I'd say to him, you do what you have to do without a guilty conscience. Yeah, I get that one, Whispers. And like I said, I totally get that. I was sad that she had to go. And honestly, if she had stayed, like I said, she was only here for a week. If things had progressed, there would have been enough room for her second youngest kid to come here and go to school. Like, I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, God sent me here to build a school and a church. So even if the brick and mortar building isn't in place yet, the opportunities to share, the gospel and the fellowship, and to help those in need and teach them to be self-sufficient along the lines of, if I give you a fish, you eat for a day, but if I teach you how to fish, you eat every day. They still apply, whether there's a building or not. So she was gone. So then after that, Florian, once again, I got to give it to her. She wouldn't give up, because I was like, screw this. I was ready to call my former caretaker when I was in Billy Ron to fly down here, because I'm like, she knows what she's doing. And she left because of my, misery character acting assistant, who was obsessed and thought she was in love with me. That was why my caretaker and Billy Ron left. She was actually planning on coming here with me to Mindanao, but she couldn't deal with my assistant anymore. And she hadn't worked with me long enough for me to, I was getting ready to fire my assistant, but she left right before I did, which was kind of like, okay. So anyway, we're on number 5. Yep, number 5, guy. We're number 5 now. So Florian places a new looking for domestic helper. Number 5, which is her cousin. And her cousin says, I'm going to take that job. I want that job. I can speak good English. I'm good. Whatever you need me to do. And so Florian at this point is like explaining to people what we've had to deal with the past few workers. And the woman's like, no, no, no. I promise you, I'm going to be there on Monday. And because I'm tired of my, husband. He keeps cheating on me and I've got to take care of these kids. And you know what? This is a good opportunity. And I'm offering the same thing. If you don't want it, but maybe you want your kid to go to school, I can pay for it. So she's like, I'm going to see you guys Monday. Florian says again, listen, be sure. Make sure. Oh, I talked with my family about it and they're okay because she lived with her brother who was the kid's uncle. So they were school age kids. So while he worked, they were in school and then he could take care of them when they came home. And that's kind of how it works when Filipinos work overseas. Like the women, like a sibling or a grandparent will take care of the kids. They do the work and send the money home. It's very common here. It's very normal here. It's like they're used to it. So it's not like it's a thing. Like Florian's sister works in Mongolia. Last year, when there was trouble in her village, she asked if her sons could stay with us, which I said no problem. And she actually sent money for her kids. With the advent of technology, she sees her kids on FaceTime on a regular basis. What her kids don't know is she's coming home in June and we're going to surprise them. But anyway, back to worker number 5. Worker number 5, I assume you fired the cleaning lady. What? Whoa. Let's not get ahead, guy. Let's not get ahead. Let's not get ahead. So, the day she was supposed to come, she calls Florian and says to Florian, well, I know I promised, but me and my husband, we're going to get back together, so I can't take the job now. Which, translation, you use the position as leverage to make your husband come back to you. Okay. That was number 5. Now, another situation is building up to this point because we're in late January by now. What's building up is me and Florian have to go to Thailand for a week. Somebody has to be here. Even if they're not like a permanent worker, we needed somebody here. We're going to be in another country for like a whole week. I mean, exactly 7 days. So it's getting more and more. Someone came twice a week. Eh? I'd do that if I had to pay a lot. But like I said, the money here, the wages are so low, and honestly, they don't do a lot of work. So anyway, now we're at Guy. Guy. Thanks, Guy. We just got finished with number 5 with the reconciliation. Okay, so now we're stuck again. Now, number 6 calls on FaceTime, wants the job, knows what it is. Her parents are going to take care of her daughter. She broke up with her daughter's father. All of this stuff. She spoke a little English. I'm like, okay, we'll try it again. The day before she was supposed to come here, because I think we talked to her on like a Friday or something, and we're like, just come here on Monday. The day before she was supposed to get here, wait for it. I'm trying to light a cigarette on. Wait for it. She calls Florian and says, is it okay if I bring my daughter because I don't want her father to take her, and if I bring her with me, he won't know where I'm at. So Florian relays this information to me. For me, this is automatic no. I don't do drama. Okay? So you want to get baby daddy drama and then bring it like 2 hours away to my house. No. The other part to that is I'm a father. I know what it's like when your kid's mom wants to hurt you, so she uses the kids. I'm not going to participate in that. You should have talked to your kid's father. and make it straight with him. Didn't do that. So I'm like, scrap that. They're not coming. They're not coming. No, 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 and no. That was number 5. So now it's getting down to crunch time. So Florian says, I know you don't like it, but domestic helper number 2 said if we couldn't find anybody by the time we had to go to Thailand, she would do it for the week. And I said, if we can't get anybody else. Okay, so let me explain this. I can't let her bring the kid because that's going to bring drama. If somebody took my kid and went to another city and didn't tell me, by the time I track them down, I'm going to be pissed. And I'm going to cause a scene. And I'm going to be buck wild. I don't need that. It's hard enough for me fighting an anxiety attack with nothing going on, let alone this. Otherwise, if she said it was okay with her daughter's father, I probably wouldn't have had a problem with it. But after the last situation with Lalit bringing her daughter, what I said was, you work here after 3 months. If everything's going okay, bring your daughter. That was my thing. I'm stupid, but true. You're stupid. You are. You. So, when you're saying Wind Whispers, they might not have much opportunity for schooling, but they must have some kind of free underground class. No. Education is not. Education is not a priority here, and my thought is because on paper this is a democracy, but it's actually an oligarchy. And in order to remain an oligarchy, you can't have a lot of educated people around you. Just your people, but you don't want the masses to understand exactly what it is you're doing. So, on paper, they look like they have high literacy rates and they seem to look like everybody's going to school, but that's just on paper. And that was a problem I had when I was a social worker back in the school program. So, we're done with number 5. So she says number 2 was willing to come back. That didn't sound right. So let me change it. The woman's name is Mercy. So she said, because number 2 not wanting to come. Yeah, that didn't. Anyway. So she said Mercy was willing to come. I said, we can't find anybody else. Okay. Then I thought about it and I said, well, how about this? How about your sister, the one that's still here, the one whose girlfriend was the first worker we had? Let her come here. And then she said her best friend, who's also the wife of the guy that works my farm or our farm, she could come here. They could stay here together. I said, let's do it that way. Because the thing about Mercy, even though she didn't do a good job, Mercy was having a lot of issues with depression. I could feel it. And it was a lot of just, not that she was walking around crying and kicking things, but I could just feel it. And it was triggering my depression, which I can't have that energy around me. So I was like, I really don't want Mercy back here. And I told, it has nothing to, like, I like Mercy. I think she's a good person, but I don't think this is a good place for her to be. And it's certainly not good for her to be around me when she's dealing with depression. Mercy lost a child a couple of years ago. And she never really grieved. And having lost a child myself, it was 3 years before I was actually able to grieve for that lost child. So I understood that. But I could feel that energy that I had back in 2018. I don't want to feel like that again. So we finally came down with a plan. Had the plan. So here was the new plan, everybody. Florian's sister was going to come here with her best friend. They were going to stay in the house. Mercy was going to stay at Florian's mother's house to care for her mother, who is like high blood pressure, high risk for diabetes. And she could stay there. I give Mercy money for staying to take care of the mom. They stay here. We're in Thailand. I can smoke weed for a whole week and everybody's happy. So that was a plan. Everybody agreed to it. Florian's best friend, we left on the 12th. Florian's best friend came here on the 11th. And what was supposed to happen was that yeah. Mercy was supposed to come. No, what happened? I think. Wait, now I'm confused. Oh, something happened where Florian's sister couldn't come, but Mercy was going to come. So I just said have Mercy come on the 11th, no, on the 12th, because we're leaving on the 12th. And Florian's best friend could have done this by herself, except for one thing. She was afraid to be in the house by herself at night. I know plenty of people that go through it. Even though you got a dog that can pull rebar out of a hollow cinder block, but you know, you don't want to be alone. You don't want to be alone. So that was the case. We left on the 12th to go to Davao, which was the city we were flying out of to go to Bangkok. The day that Mercy was supposed to come here, she says the agency called her because she was trying to become an overseas Filipino worker again. And they called her. So she's not coming, which left Florian's best friend in the house by herself. So now there was an issue. So I'm like, what are we going to do now? So, out of nowhere, worker number 2, number three, the gay man. He decided he can come and stay with her while we were gone. So he would stay with her best friend because they all know each other. They're all from the same town. He'd stay here with her. I'm like, great. Made me think, okay, because while all of this was going on, part I left out, he actually contacted Florian because all of a sudden he wasn't with his boyfriend again and said, I reconsidered, is that opportunity still available? So Florian told me, and at first I was like, no. Then I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? I did some really stupid things in my 20s. And this kid's like 22, 23. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'll consider it again. So when he stepped up and did that, I was like, you know what? I'll probably give him another opportunity. And I told him, we'll talk when we come back from Thailand. Everything seems to be going good. All of a sudden, I think we're day 7. No, not day 7. That threw me because guy put up number 7 now. I think we were in Thailand for 3 days. And all of a sudden, Florian gets a phone call because the guy that came here, number 3, his boyfriend called him and said, well, you know, Florian and her husband, they're in Thailand, so why don't you just come stay with me, and then you can go back, and then you can talk about getting your job. And he left. And it's the same guy that you didn't take the opportunity the first time for, and then you asked about the opportunity because you realize you need to take care of yourself, and now you run back to him because... So what ended up happening was that her best friend's husband, his name's Lyndon, he came here to stay for the rest of the days while we were gone, which meant there was nobody on the farm. So now Florian's sister had to go work the farm, which right now is just like maintenance. You're getting rid of grassy areas because we're about to start planting. She did that while they were here. So I'm like, this is like the craziest thing I've ever come across. So we found a number 7. The number 7 did come up when we came back. And I forget what happened with that one. That one was a flash in the pan. I'm not even going to hold you. That one did not last long at all. Like, it didn't. But now, we're moving up to current times now. And I'll talk about the situation with my neighbor. But I have a special tribute to Teresa because this was something we had talked about a few days ago when you were talking about when you were at the mall. So this is for you, and it's not Gina Tay, but it's close. Watch.
There's a fragrance that's here today, and they call it Charlie. A different fragrance that thinks your way, yeah, they call it Charlie. Kinda young, kinda now, Charlie. Kinda free, kinda wow, Charlie. Kind of fragrance that's gonna stay, and it's here now, Charlie. Ba-doo-ba-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Now the world belongs to Charlie by Revlon.
And we're back. Thank you to Revlon for sponsoring this live stream. And remember, you can pick up Charlie anywhere they sell dollar store products. So now we're moving into current times. So all of that backstory, talk about the neighbor. Neighbor's opportunistic wife is spending all of his money. Who was that woman? That was the actress and model Shelley Hack. She was Kate Jackson's replacement on Charlie's Angels. And that was her. She was also in the original movie Stepfather. She played the wife. And that's her biggest claim to fame. Very nice woman from everything I understand. She's probably like 80 now, or close to it. So anyway, we considering the fact, and I'm talking about the neighbor situation. I know I'm right. Are you kidding? When I was a kid, oh my God, I was head over heels in love with Jacqueline Smith. I never missed an episode of Charlie's Angels. So when he first came here, he had a plan. He was supposed to get married in October to her. And then he was supposed to get his permanent residency visa, which he said what he was talking about, you didn't have to be married to get the permanent residency visa. And he said it would only cost like $1,800. I never heard about it, but it didn't sound kosher to me. Oh, yeah. See? If she looks like you, that means you have to smell like her. So you have to go to CVS and pick up a bottle of Charlie. No. Uh-oh. Remember, we have to keep her in a lamb status. Lamb status, not lion status. Lamb status. So, what's I talking about anyway? Oh, so October came and went, didn't get married. This woman trying to impress Florian told Florian things that at face value you wouldn't have a reason to question it. But here's the thing. Let me say this. She says she's 39. This guy's 68. He turned 68 last year. She turned 39 last year. When we met, I thought she was like a few years older than me. I'm 53. A 39-year-old woman should not be seen and you think, wow, she's elderly. Like, I shouldn't see that. Florian has to show people proof of age because she doesn't look like she's approaching 30. Y'all lucked up. She's a virgin too. Not that I was happy about that, but anyway. So her time frame of the things she claimed she had done in life didn't match up with the number of children she has, plus her age. Because if you look at the chronology of what she said she's done, she had her first kid at 14, which is not uncommon here. But she's talking about she went to college and she was an overseas Filipino worker for 2 years. And it's like that could not have happened just based on how old you said you are. I was suspecting at first the reason that they didn't get married is because she didn't want him to find out her true age. When I say this woman does not look 39, I'm not exaggerating. It's like she doesn't look 49, arguably 59, but certainly not 39. And I don't want to keep harping on that because I feel guilty about doing it. But anyway, the other thing I thought was he's going to figure out the timeline. Part two to this was she said she got married at like the Justice of the Peace, which is a legal thing. Divorce is illegal in the Philippines. If you get married in the Philippines and you don't want to be with your partner anymore, you can get an annulment. Technically, divorce is legal, but basically it's not because it costs a lot of money. I'm talking thousands of dollars to get an annulment or a divorce because you have to grease everybody's palm. I mean, everybody. So I remember my divorce from my ex-wife cost me a grand total of $200. That was it. It was a no contested divorce. I was done with her. Took my $200, went and got it. We got divorced. And then after we got divorced, what I didn't tell her, I cashed in one of my IRAs and then redid my house. And I turned it into a bachelor crib. Anyway, you can't get divorced. I don't think she's being completely upfront with her past because I think she's afraid that he might change his mind. So when you think about it, Filipino women, and I'm not talking about the gold diggers, but Filipino women don't have a problem with dating men older than them. I mean, considerably older than them. And there's a lot of Filipinas here. So he could have had his pick of the litter. I think she knows that. So she was presenting herself in a way that he might think, she's a catch. I don't know. Anywho, I don't think she likes Florian. And me and Teresa, we talked about this because you hit the nail right on the head. She's jealous of Florian. Florian's been to college. Florian has no children. Florian is going to college now to get her degree in agriculture. So she can make the best decisions on the farm because I can't be bothered. So anyway, she has this guy. And see, this is the part, like, he makes considerable more money than I do in our pensions, but he has to borrow money from me. Because when they got their house, they moved the two daughters, and all her kids are adults. I think the youngest one is 19. Moved the kids in. One had a daughter. The one that has a daughter, her husband came and moved into. Her son has a wife and two kids, but he spends his money on cigarettes, chasing women, and cockfighting. So now this guy is literally supporting an entire family. On top of that, everybody from that little backwater cave-dwelling village, she's bringing in, come see my new house. Come see where I'm living at. And she's showing off all the stuff he's bought for her. I mean, these people didn't have 2 pesos to rub together. Now, all of a sudden, she's got a refrigerator she never had before. She's got running water and indoor plumbing they never had before. She's got electricity. She's got a gas range stove, with an oven and a deep freezer and a bed and a sofa and a chair and a rug. The problem is he's renting the house. I was fortunate that the house I'm renting, which is a good house, nice house, quiet block, all that good stuff, I pay $200 a month. He pays, I think, for the house itself, $180 or $160 a month for their house. And they have a corner house. It's got a lot of land around it. But she's got him blowing all the money. He can't save up to do anything. He said in 2 years he wanted to have enough money where he could buy a 2-acre area, build a house, and grow crops or whatever. That was his goal. You're not going to be able to do that if you have to borrow money from me, because that means you got no money saved up, which means the money you got, which was a lot more than I get, it's already gone. And it's like, I didn't say anything. I mean, I know what it's like to be in a strange country and have nobody to talk to or even confide in or have a friendship with. When he asked what, I gave it to him. And then the following month, came back and asked for more. This woman was bringing all of these people. Now, here's the other part that I left out. These are not her blood relatives that she's showing off with. I mean, outside of her kids and her granddaughter, these are not her relatives. This, where she lives at before she met my neighbor, this is her ex-husband's family. These are his people. She moved here from where she lived at to be with him. She's from a completely different part of the country. But she's trying to impress them. Like that keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing, which you marked on before, Teresa. It's that situation, but it's like you're showing off. Why do you care what these people think about you? They're not putting any clothes on your back. They're not putting any food in your mouth. He told us that he put her in charge of the money. I put my wife in. Let me rephrase that. My wife's not in charge of the money, but she manages the money. So when the money comes in, there's a block here. She takes that, make sure the bills get paid. Oh, no problem. Lynn whispers, there's nothing wrong with taking care of family, but in a situation like that, you all need to have the same goals as a whole, or else he will never be able to accomplish his dream. Exactly. That's what I mean. We know what he does for them, but what are they doing for him? So on top of this, he buys a soccer mom van. There's a thing. Florian's younger brother is a master mechanic, and her older brother is an automotive engineer. They both work in Manila. Both have their own families, don't ask for money or anything. Not a problem. They all, as siblings, put their money together to take her mom to the beach for her birthday. Great. I thought that was wonderful. So now we're okay. So he gets the van. It looked okay, but now he's doing that nickel and dime thing because there's always an issue with it. First, it was the alignment. Then it was something in the engine, and then there was something else, and then there was something else. And Florian said, because her brothers told her, it's not good to buy a used car in the Philippines. You want to buy a brand new car because then you can take it to the dealership and it's under warranty. She's like, here, if you take a used car to get repaired, what they're going to do is take out that part and replace it with a cheaper, inferior part, and then they'll probably make something else break down later. And he's had to go through a bunch of different mechanics. He took it to one shop. They didn't know what to do. So it's not a great thing. The other night, he called and said, because he asked me to download the manual online so I could send him the PDF and he could print it out. So I don't know what happened to it, but as if I could do it again. So I was like, when he called, I was sleeping. So I told him, yeah, I'll send it to you the next day. Florian texted him and told him, like, it's not good to have buy a used car here. He flips out. You're not a certified mechanic and you don't work on cars and I don't need 2 paragraphs of your negativity. Like, really just gone buck wild. Florian doesn't share that part with me. She told me that she thought he might be upset. And I'm like, whatever, I don't care. So I didn't know something was going on. Because we're not friends on Facebook. He connected through his wife, he connected with Florian, so he sends messages on Messenger that way. I couldn't be bothered. So now Florian, again, because now we're up to we're going on number 8 now. Okay. This time when she posted in her native language, which I think she always did. But she was more direct. I need somebody that's not going to cry about being homesick. I need somebody that's going to come do the job, not make excuses, like along those lines. It was in her language. Facebook translation is garbage. because it wasn't in the Filipino universal language. It was in the regional dialect because she was talking to people in her town. If you read the English translation, it looked crazy. I mean, crazy. And that's when I realized that the AI is not good with Facebook. What I used to do is I do something through Google Translate first and then post it if I was using the Bisayan language, because Bisayan and Cebuano are very similar. And Google Translate can translate Cebuano. So I just basically do it like that. She didn't worry about the translation because she wasn't really speaking to anybody that their primary language was English. However, his wife saw that. Yeah, yeah, she's learning. So neighbor's wife sees this, and then all of a sudden she shows it to him, but she shows him the English version. And she's trying to blow this way out of proportion. How dare they? Because I'll get to how I found this part out. So she's screaming and hollering in his ear. He sends me this message, and he did something that you never, ever, ever do. This man questioned my faith. Talk about, I thought you were a Christian and a man with a good heart and character. What? And then he's saying, well, why don't you just say you want somebody unmarried with no kids that wants to be at your beck and call 24/7, and you don't want a human, you want a slave. So now, while this was going on, this was Wednesday that this happened. I was asleep. It was Tuesday your time, but it was Wednesday morning your time it happened, but it was Wednesday night for me. So I didn't see it. I wake up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, go to the bathroom. When I come back in, Florian is asking me, like, do you think my post looking for, a worker was bad? And I'm like, no. And then she shows me what he wrote, which immediately triggered me. Like right away, like, what's going on? And I'm reading this message and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why is he talking to me about something she made on her Facebook post? Why does he care? And why is he calling out my faith? So I went outside to smoke a cigarette. I don't smoke indoors. I went outside to smoke a cigarette because I'm like, this is blowing my mind because it just totally caught me off guard. And so she came outside and sat with me. And I could see that she had been crying. Like he had sent this like a few hours earlier. And she had been upset the whole time. She was talking to her friend. She like put like, did I say something wrong in my Facebook post? And everybody was saying no. Like she actually, the same day she made that post, people were contacting her expressing interest in the position. Even workers 1, 3, and workers 1, 2, and 3, all 3 of them were asking if they could come back. So it couldn't have been that bad. So I'm trying to keep myself calm because I'm like, I will beat this old man into submission. Like that's what my rage was. It's like, why are you making her cry? Like, why are you acting like this? And then she showed me the message about you're not a certified mechanic and you don't know anything about cars. Now, I thought he was talking to her. It turned out he thought I wrote that text. And it's kind of like, dude, when I was in the Army, I was a mechanic. I worked on tanks and armored personnel carriers. Okay? I know the fundamentals of a car. But anyway, so I sent him a message like, dude, we need to talk because I don't understand any of this. Now, when I saw the text exchange after he sent to Florian, like, your post was like awful, and she's trying to explain to him, that's not what I wrote. That's the translation. The translation on Facebook is bad. He did what I can't stand when people do. You want to say your piece, and then when somebody's trying to explain, you misunderstood. You want to like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. That's what he did. I mean, he was acting like a woman, as far as I'm concerned. If I got a problem with you, I'm going to tell you what my problem is. And I'm going to wait for you to say something in return. because I want to hear what you have to say. I want to understand what you have to say because I want to resolve the issue. I'm not going to come on here and how dare you, and you're not a Christian, you don't know anything about religion, and then hang up the phone. And then when the person calls back, I'm not going to answer the phone. No, that's childish. It's 100% childish. Or what we say back in Philly, you're acting like a girl. In the Philippines, they call it tampo, which sounds a lot like tampon. So I guess. Anyway, so he agrees to come here. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm leading up to. So I was talking to Teresa about this. Because like I said, it happened at 1 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't go back to sleep. I was trying to, but I couldn't. So I called Teresa. Talk for about, because we hadn't talked a couple of weeks, I think. So we talked for about what, an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, somewhere like that. So talking to her, I did calm down and I did feel better. And then Guy came on. So then talking to Guy, that helped things too. So then after that, I talked to my brother. And after teasing him about the Cowboys, I shared with him what was going on. Everybody said the same thing. So neighbor agrees to come here on Friday, which was yesterday here, so we could talk. So he comes over and then he says something like, I just want you guys to know I love you both, but all of this negativity and so I had to cut him off for a minute. I'm like, listen, I don't know what you're upset about. He's like, when you sent that text message about the situation, and I showed them my wife and daughter, and they're like, how could somebody say something like that about a Filipino? I'm like, okay, so first of all, let me explain it to you. I didn't send that text message about the car and not trusting used cars in the Philippines. That was sent by my wife, who is Filipino. So if they want to know how can somebody say this about a Filipino, they need to ask another Filipino. I didn't write that. I was like, and just so you understand, she didn't say that because she heard it somewhere on the internet. Her brothers are both expert mechanics. They told her. Her family members will have them fly down here from Manila if they're thinking about buying a used car. Didn't come from me. Oh, we thought it came from you, but it didn't. Well, it was just so much negativity, and that was the last thing I needed to hear that night. And I'm thinking, okay, you want to be angry about it, be angry about it. But what you said was hurtful. She wasn't trying to hurt your feelings. She thought she was giving you an advisory. It wasn't an I told you so because you didn't come to us before you bought the car and said, I'm buying a car. And she said, don't do it. And then you did it. And she's like, I warned you. No, it didn't happen. And as primitive as his wife's family is, they don't know anything about cars. Which I'm sure they don't know anything about cars. But here's the thing. The wife doesn't like his friendship with me and Florian because she knows she can't pretend to be rich around us because her husband has had to borrow money from us. And he makes more money than we do. Now, when she goes back to her village, which she makes him drive her to every day, she's walking around. Now she gets out of a car now, and she's talking about all these things. And then she has no problem bringing the whole village to come stay at her house so they can see the TV and drink cold beverages and lay around and have free Wi-Fi. This may not see me. Well, my opinion is she's afraid he's going to see her for what she really is, which is the worst thing to have happen to a narcissist. Narcissists do not want to be exposed for being the frauds that they are. And that's my honest opinion. He's a nice guy. I'll tell you how bad it is for him. The local grocers around here, sometimes if you need a couple extra things like a few eggs or you feel like a special kind of fish for dinner or you want roast pork or they have something called lechon, which is a special seasoning. It's huge in the Philippines. And you can get it on your pig or your chicken. And sometimes we get that. but we always pay. She runs through so much of his money, he had to take out a line of credit with these people. And the reason we know that is because they told Florian. Because they asked her, "Do you want a line of credit?" And she's like, "No, my husband does not believe in credit." And he was like, "Oh, the other black American, yeah, we had to give him a line of credit." Should not be happening. He came over here one time saying he had just spent like $500 on food. 3 days later, he opened a refrigerator and there was nothing left in there but vegetables. Would not be me. But if that's how you want to live, I can't stop you. I'm not going to interfere with that because technically it's none of my business. Literally, it's none of my business. If you borrow money from me, I have the money to give you. I'm going to give it to you. You pay it back, and that's what we do. I mean, if a man went and got a payday loan, the payday loan people aren't going to say, "Why do you keep borrowing money from us?" Just like, no, they're not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. So anyway, as I'm trying to explain this to him, I think it starts clicking in his head that he overreacted, but ego got in the way of him just flat out saying, yeah, I was wrong. See, when I argue or I get into an argument, I always make sure I keep in the top of my mind that I could be wrong. Therefore, I give the person the opportunity to show me something in case I am wrong. I don't go in there closed-minded because when you go in like that, when it comes out that you are wrong, you're going to look 100 times more stupid than if you went in there thinking one thing, but open to the idea that you could be wrong. It also makes you better in selecting the words that you use when you operate in that fashion. So that's what I do. So I'm listening to him. Yeah, keep him in your prayers. And I'm not joking about that. Keep him in your prayers. Not to mention how they felt about your vacation. Yeah, I forgot about that. I think not him, but I think she was jealous that we went on vacation because she's not telling the truth about being an overseas Filipino worker. I don't think she's ever left the country. And for me and Florian, we went to Bangkok. And we had a blast. I was smoking weed. I like saying that. I was smoking weed. But no, we actually had a great time there. So I think she's jealous of the fact that, but here's things that they have that we don't have, and I'm not jealous about. They have a deep freezer. We don't. Okay, I'm fine without a deep freeze. They have ceiling fans. We don't. I got a desk fan and a floor fan. They have 2 air conditioners. We don't, because I'm planning for my money to be used for something long term, not short sprint. If they got kicked out of that house, there's no such thing as tenants' rights here. If that landlord's like, "Get out, you got to go," what are you gonna do with all that stuff? Especially the fact that you run through all your money. If that house caught fire, where would you stay? If anybody in there got sick, who's paying for them to go to the doctor? Here in this country, you don't have money, they will watch you die. And I'm not kidding. They will look at you and say, "That's a shame." Whatever. Okay, guess what? We have a 2-burner gas stove that's connected to a gas tank, and it sits outside in what's called a dirty kitchen. I'm not buying a long range stove. You know why? I'm not in my house yet. I'm in my home, but this is not my house. So I'm not going to do a whole bunch of things to a house that at some point I'm going to have to leave. No, I'm going to build my house, and I'm going to gradually put in everything that I want. My church elders, they've been in this part of the country for 20 years. They live on what could easily be considered an estate. The American equivalent of their land would be about at least $1.5 million. At least American dollars. But he said when he first got here, it was just a barren land. It was just land. There was nothing there. Over 20 years, they built. The first house that they first had, they let their mom stay in there. After that, they got it. I think they have a 2-story or 3-story house. It's beautiful. They're converting that now into an Airbnb because all their kids are grown now. They move back into the smaller house. They get to travel. They're constantly flying places. Since we've known them in the past year, they've been to Vietnam. They're going to Thailand in October. They've been to Amsterdam. They've been to 5 different parts of this country. They're living their life. I'm not jealous of them. I'm happy for them. What I keep saying is, I want to be where you are in 20 years. Not, I'm mad because you have these things and I should have them. It was a build, a long build. In comments. I think it's deeper. Her relationship is based on what he can give. As for your relationship, is based off love. As long as you two are around her, truth will shine in colors. See, you're right. That's absolutely right. And yes, it cooks food. And that's all it needs to do. Now, what I did do was get a tabletop oven for when Florian wants to do her baking experiments, is what I call them. Because, yeah. Now, when she's making dinner using the oven, like baked chicken or baked fish, when she tries to do like pastry stuff, no. Anyway. So I'm like building. Like the thing about my wife that was fascinating, when we were telling, first started talking, we were like, telling our background and everything. She didn't tell me how much land her family has. They've got a lot. And I don't mean a lot. I mean like a lot of land, like lots of land. I had no idea. But she's from one of the 7 original indigenous tribes of the Philippines. So that land is sacred. Like by their laws, they can only sell it to another tribal member. So technically, I don't own anything. It was given to Florian from her mother and father. I don't own it. She owns it. Foreigners cannot own land in the Philippines. You can get a lease for a plot of land, and you can get like a 99-year lease, which is a loophole, but technically you cannot own land. What you can do, you can own a condo because you own that unit, but you don't own the land that it's built on. So you could buy a condo and it's yours. Flat out, you just pay your homeowners association fees or what have you. But as far as like, yeah, I'm going to buy me no. Unless you're married to a Filipina or unless your child is Filipino, born here in the Philippines, you personally, as an American, cannot own land, which I respect that because the reality, when you look at it, if they let foreigners buy land, China would have bought everything here and displaced every single Filipino. Like that was what their fear was. So, we think alike. I think this is a good probably end up. Yeah, see, if we hung out, especially if Teresa was with us, we'd have to make sure we left a safe deposit box full of bail money for Guy to come get us out of jail. So, yeah. So, back to neighbor and the whole thing. So he bought this car. He's nickel and diming it. He got mad at what Florian said, so he's coming here to talk, and he's doing this thing. And Guy, you might be able to understand this. It was like an over-aggressive boxer coming in, like coming straight for you, and it's like you just move out of the way, and then he swings, and his arm goes through the ropes, and now he's looking around, and then he's trying to figure out what to do. That's how talking with him at first yesterday was, because he didn't want to admit that he was wrong. And what he was doing, it was like, you got to understand something. I argue the way Roy Jones Jr. used to box. So if you're coming at me brawling, I'm going to box you. If you come at me boxing, I'm going to brawl you. You determine how I react. So, wait, you do. just just make sure you keep the key in a safe place, guy, for that safe deposit box. So at first he was saying, well, because I asked him, I'm like, let's not talk about the whole car part for a minute. You question my faith. Do you really think you have a right to question my faith about her post? You know what he said? Yeah. What? And I was like, okay, so I need to explain something. So he's talking about, well, we thought it was you that posted, and so now he's trying to incorporate his wife and her daughter to validate his position. But the truth be told, I think they blew it out of proportion because they don't like Florian and they're trying to keep him away from hanging out with me and Florian. Because when we all first met, she used to come over when he came over, and we used to go over there and visit, and everybody would sit and talk. I mean, like 2-hour conversations. But then gradually, right after he borrowed money from me, not the first time, but like the second time and the third time, and she stopped coming around because it's like, I know you're not rich. I know you're a fraud. I know you're living beyond your means. I've had to give them food, not just money, but I've had to give them food too. And the truth still comes back to the fact that, oh yeah, no, she told me she's great with money because you're the one that has to make her buy stuff for herself. And team guy, I'm glad she's got you, guy. I really am, because she's talking to me, and I never hear her talking about doing any self care. So I'm glad you're there to remind her that she has to take care of herself too, and she has to think about herself from time to time also. So thank you, guy, for that. You guys are perfect for each other. Yin yang, and frickin' frack, and Lucy and Desi, and Ozzy and Harriet. And anyway, you get the idea. So, okay. So he's still trying to complain about, he was upset that he didn't need to hear, her send that text message. He didn't need to see that. And I'm like, listen, be upset about that. I'm not telling you not to. It rubbed you the wrong way. It rubbed you the wrong way. What I'm trying to explain to you is it wasn't meant in a negative manner. Now to remind him, English is her fourth language. And then he wants to shift from that. And I'm like, let's put that to the side for a minute. So then he wants to talk about the post she made. And that was terrible. And that wasn't a nice thing. And did you read the post? I'm like, first of all, it was translated. And he doesn't do Facebook. So I'm like, do you understand Facebook? And he's like, no. I'm like, do you understand the translation process on Facebook? And so now he's realizing while we're talking, this could mean I overreacted, but then he wants to do this. Well, I don't really care about it. I'm like, no, you cared enough to say what you said. Now care enough to understand why what you said was wrong. And when I explained to him the whole translation process, because he was talking about, well, my wife and my daughter didn't want to have anything else to do with Florian. I'm like, I don't care. Quite frankly, they don't want to have anything to do with her now. This is just the excuse they can use to justify why they behave the way they behave. But I was like, what I don't understand is if they were so outraged on principle, how come they didn't talk to her about it just like I'm talking to you? Then he paused for a second. Well, maybe I'll go tell them that they need to come talk to her. I'm like, do whatever you need to do. You need a breather and taking. No. We're either getting married in July or November. I haven't figured that out yet. There's actually a couple here that I'm looking more to do it in November because they're not going to be around, and I don't really want to have to invite them, and I'm just being honest about that. So I'm going to break this down. The wife is jealous of Florian. She got in his ear, hence the apology. Florian is younger, prettier, kinder, better with money, humble, and the wife hates Florian for it. Well, do you want to just take over the live stream since you want to just break it down? I mean, is that what you want to do? I mean, I sent you the link. You need me to send it to you again? Here. Here. You know what? I don't care if you turn into a lion. I don't care. Here. Come on. Come yell at me. Yeah, come yell at me. Huh? So, since she cut me off at the knees, once I explained to him, like, listen, I don't care who you are. I don't care what your problem is. Don't ever come at my faith. I was like, that's the most important to me. That's the most important thing to me on this planet. It's more important than my wife. It's more important than my kids. It's more important than my dog. And those are the things I hold most precious to me. My faith comes above all of those things. I said I did not want to come to the Philippines, but this is where God sent me. And God could have let me rot in hell, but he chose me to do his work. And the only way I can come close to repaying that is by serving him. I told you when I first met you, dude, I came here to build a school and a church. You were implying, considering that we're both Black American, what we've had to come through as a people, that I would even entertain the thought of having a slave was hurtful to me. And then you started seeing them getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then he says something like, well, I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm like, I never asked you to be perfect. None of us are perfect. I said, but just like you're saying you made a mistake, Florian made a mistake. But unlike the way you attacked her, I'm not attacking you. I said, I've been studying with my Bible group. We've been studying just the topic of forgiveness for the past 5 going on 6 months because it's that important. And I said, I'm talking to you because I don't want to be angry. And to remind you, I have something called post-traumatic stress disorder. What you did caused me trauma. And so he finally started calming down. And then finally, like, his apologies were genuine. And I just asked him, like, is it fair to say that you overreacted? And he was like, yeah, I did. And I could have took it a step further and be like, I know those 2 cackling hens were in your ear, probably going back and forth for hours, which aggravated you, and you wanted to do something to shut them up. But I didn't go there. And like I said, he apologized, and he was like, if you let me, I'll apologize to, Florian. And I said, I think she would appreciate that. 'Cause I'm like, dude, she was crying. Because she didn't understand why you came at her the way you did and why you said what you did. We all have bad days. I'm like, none of us are perfect. And I quoted Romans 3:23. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. None of us are perfect. We're going to sin today. We're going to sin tomorrow. God understands that. And that's why the wages of sin being death, he sent his only son here, the perfect person ever and only, to sacrifice for us. His blood is what gets us into heaven. Now, this guy's supposed to be devout, but he only goes to church, the Holy Week, because he's like one of those Catholics that only go to church when you're supposed to be seen in the church, like Easter and Ash Wednesday and Palm Sunday or something. He's not a regular churchgoer, not at all. But like I was telling this dude, I don't judge anybody because everybody's relationship with God is a one-of-a-kind relationship. You don't know my relationship to question anything that I do. And I tell him, I got a MAGA lunatic in my church, loves Donald Trump, thinks Donald Trump is the second coming of Christ. I'm exaggerating on that part. I'm like, I think he's terrible at judging politician and characters of a politician, but never once did I question his faith because that is not my right to do so. We are not here to judge, and you judged me. And then he apologized again. I know none of it was my fault. I didn't do it. I didn't post anything. I didn't even post the guy. Oh, look who's here.
Why, hello, dear.
Hi, sis. Wind Whispers, you want to come up too? No? Okay, just me and sis.
Yeah, I want to explain it because you're explaining it good, but there's a lot to it, other things that you're missing.
Well, forgive me. If you want to add the pieces in, go right ahead.
Okay, well,
I mean, I did talk to you at length, so you probably are remembering a lot more than me.
yeah, and I wrote, I said, at the bottom line of this is, the guy, he wants this wife, and he doesn't want to say he made a mistake, or he's scared he can't do better. You know what I mean? Or he
Uh huh.
might get something worse. Who knows? But this lady is using, like you said, using his money to make herself, some,
Look good. Impress
yeah,
other people.
yeah, keep up with the Jones kind of thing. So, Wind Whispers, let me break it down and see if you don't come up with the same theory I did.
Here we go. Do it.
This has nothing to do with mechanics. This has nothing to do with anything. When somebody, your neighbor, is coveting everything you have and they're in a competition, but C and Florian aren't reciprocating. So they're in a competition all by themselves.
Yep.
So it's, I have this, like when they're talking about it. So to send a nasty text to Florian, that's like, a woman would have done that to a woman, especially to a Filipino woman. You know what I
Uh
mean?
huh.
So she got in her husband's ear to maybe,
Do her dirty work.
yes, because Florian's younger, she's prettier, she's better with money, and obviously has more in this woman's eyes. So it has nothing to do, and then to be in your business, like you went on vacation, you know what I mean? And and you got souvenirs, nothing extravagant, but you had
Oh,
fun and you
yeah,
enjoyed yourselves. But it was a necessity. Your vacation was a necessity.
it really was.
You just made the best out of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you took your wife. So
Well,
therefore, you know, if he has to do it, he'd probably be like, let me just go by myself because he'd probably want a friggin' break.
but I don't think she would let him go by himself.
That's what I'm saying. But he probably would, you
But
know,
see, that's the
like
other thing. A
think to that.
narcissist wants to wear you down to where you lose all of your will. And
Sure.
that's what she's trying to do because she doesn't want, when he comes here, he can get an outside opinion and he'll get
Right.
an objective opinion. She doesn't want that. I mean, the only people he associates with are her people. He doesn't
Exactly.
know
Because
anybody
she's
else.
isolated him in a sense.
But speaking
So,
about uh,
good.
Florian, when you say she's good with money, she's
Hmm.
good with money sometimes to a fault. Like she talks about how they grew up poor, but they were a close family. And
Hmm.
sometimes they just ate vegetables for dinner because they didn't have food. Her dad was a farmer. He gave up the playboy lifestyle when his wife got pregnant, and he became a full time dad, a full time husband, full time worker, full time Christian.
Well, that's
And he,
another thing. Florian comes from a good, like
hmm
the fact that she owns land. So, I
and she
mean,
didn't
and
even
this
tell
girl
me
and the other girl comes from,
nothing.
a poorer,
Cave dwellers.
right. So, I mean, she looks
Oh,
at Florian and sees, I want that life, doesn't have it. So it's not about anything else than this is just, you know, I'm just going to call it for what it is. This is just, you know,
she's
just
hating.
woman hate, just hating on Florian.
Yeah, she's
That's
hating.
all that it is. And she's getting her husband tangled into it to make it look like something it's not because
Well, that's
she
that
wants
whole.
what Florian has.
That's divide and conquer. She's trying to.
Exactly, Wind Whispers. That's exactly it. No more, no less. It's not more complicated. It's exactly that. That's what I think. See? Uh-oh. Did I lose you? All right, let me drop down because I know the weather here, the wind is blowing like crazy if you guys can hear me. But I'm going to drop off.
Okay, sorry, folks. I forgot to plug in my laptop there, and what do you know? The battery died on me. So, Teresa, I'm sending a link again so you come back in. Sorry about that. But as we were talking about, Florian, when I say she is good with money to a fault, like Florian was accepting of I'm not rich. So she never tries to live like she's rich. And the one thing that she kept working constantly on to, make sure I understood was that she loved me not for my money, and which pound for pound in American standards, I don't have a lot of money, but she was just here for me, not because she could live a better life. One of the issues, oh, okay. One of the issues that I had with Florian was that even when there was a situation where it wasn't a want, but it was a need, she still wouldn't say anything. And the example I'll give is like, I love her mom to death. Like, her mom has come here and stayed, I think, at least two occasions, it might be three. And she would stay for like a week. She stayed in 2023, she stayed for the whole Christmas for like 2 weeks. When her mom leaves, I get sad. Like, I don't want her mom to leave. Like, it's her mom is very, very maternal, very nurturing. And I didn't get a lot of that when I was a kid because my mom was sick a lot. I had to become her caretaker when I was 8 years old. So a lot of that I missed out on. So it's kind of good that that feeling, you know, I enjoy that. I get sad when she leaves. Like, that's the hardest part. For me with my condition, oh, the wind is nuts. No worries. With my condition, sometimes in my mind, it'll say, like, well, it's better not to see her because you're only going to get sad when she has to go. But I just flushed that down the toilet. But anyway, Florian's mom needs medication. And her sister, the one that works in Mongolia, would send money to take care of that. But sometimes she didn't send, or she didn't have enough money to send. When I found out, I got angry at Florian because I'm like, why didn't you tell me your mom needed medication? And I'm like, how much is the medication? For a month's supply, it's like $12, which really got me angry. I'm like, I spend more than that on junk food every month. I would give up the junk food to send money to your mother. Like, it's not a problem. Like, when her nephew stayed here, they had a growth spurt like nobody's business. Like, you literally saw over like a 3 week period their pants becoming high waters. And I'm like, they can't go to school like that. We have to buy them some more clothes. And I told her sister, and her sister's like, well, how much? I said, like, don't worry about it. Like, it's okay. Like, we're family. Like, this is what we do. But none of them are money hungry people. None of them are like they look to do it on their own, I should say. And their mindset is, if I can't do it, I'm going to pray to God that somehow it gets done. And what I had to explain to Florian is, why do you think God brought us together? I'm the part that God has brought to you to help you in the time of need. You know, the stuff Florian gets, oh, you want to like for 10 minutes? The stuff that Florian gets that she asked for, It's not a lot. I never say no because it's never a lot. She wants stuff like, girl stuff, your lotions, your little costume jewelry, skincare products, little cologne here. I don't care. Doesn't cost much money. I don't care. If she wants it, I want her to have it. You know, one of the things about the trip we took to Thailand, because me and Florian, we had our ups and downs the first year we were together, but that's a learning process, and then considering the fact that we're from different parts of the world, there was a cultural process that had to come together. That happened when we were in Thailand. She really didn't appreciate how bad my condition was until she saw it when I was in Thailand. Like when I got to Thailand, all I kept thinking about for like the past 4 months, man, I get to Thailand, I'm gonna take that weed and I'm gonna, and that's all I kept thinking about. I didn't realize the weed in Thailand much stronger than the weed in America. And I say that with all objectivity. I've had weed in Pennsylvania when I lived there. Good stuff. When I got to California, it made the stuff in Pennsylvania look like Pez. Wasn't anything like it. The stuff in California, when I came to Bangkok, that stuff was 10 times greater. I mean, it was too strong. It took me a week to go through 1 gram of weed, which back home, I could have smoked that in about 2, 3 hours. Took a week. That's how strong this stuff was. But when I smoked the weed, I felt like the ring mat and WWE Raw was the anxiety battling the marijuana. And that lasted for about 2 hours. That's when Florian said she saw just how much pain I was in with all of the trauma from my condition. She said she looked at me and she felt so bad. And like the next morning, because we got to Thailand at night, but our Airbnb was actually a dispensary was inside the Airbnb. And I had talked to the owner and he was like, I'll just leave some weed up in your room for you when you check in. Cause I told him we were coming in late. We didn't get there till like 12:30 at night. And so the next morning, what she said was, she just kept apologizing. I'm so sorry when, I would argue with you when I was being mean to you. I'm so sorry. I'm like, you're sorry. It's okay. Like, we're good now. And because the first thing that hit me after I took that first long puff of the weed, I only smoked half of it and was like blasted. I finally remembered when I first got to the Philippines and when my former fiance left me alone and sick in a hotel room in Manila and left to go have sex with her ex-boyfriend. I never really dealt with the emotional trauma from that. I couldn't afford to. Now I'm dealing with it. Like all of that came in. And then honestly, the anxiety was really not trying to let me relax. I mean, it felt like it was like a prize fight, Super Bowl 52, whatever you want to call it, NBA finals from the old school days, like, Bulls, Jazz, Lakers, Celtics kind of rivalry kind of thing, like battle. And anytime you come out of a panic attack or an anxiety attack, you become physically exhausted. And that's what she saw. But she saw the pain I was dealing with while I was going through the anxiety attack. And what I explained to her was marijuana is not a cure for anxiety. It's a medication for it. No different than NyQuil won't cure your cold, but it'll help you get through it. And that's what I use the marijuana for. So we're able to hear you go through it. Where's and that's part of having post-traumatic stress disorder, sis, that helpless feeling where like you can't do anything about what's happening. But it was good that I left the Philippines because when I first came here, that first year was awful. That first year was terrible. And what Florian kept saying, we get to hit the reset button. We can get refreshed now because now we're going to have a good time here in Thailand. And now we go back to the Philippines. And it brought, like I said, it brought us closer together. Like, no issues except for my neighbor since I came back. The last time I smoked marijuana was like Wednesday, February 19th in the morning. I still felt the effects of it until that following Sunday afternoon. Like that weed is the bizarre. And this was a mild level of marijuana. It was not like that was my mistake. The first joint I had was like high percentage THC, and I should have started with something milder since it had been like 3 years since I had smoked marijuana. But no, I'm going to need the good stuff. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that next morning, I took, because he left me 2 joints. I took the other joint back and was like, can you give me something a little softer, please? Because, yeah, this planted me on my behind. And so she gave me something else that was like 18% THC. And it was a hybrid, like a combination of indica and sativa. That was better. So with that, I was able to calm that, like, it was still strong. I was only taking like, I would take a puff maybe, for example, 9 o'clock in the morning. I might not take another puff until like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I honestly didn't take more than 3 puffs a day. And I mean, when I say puff, I mean puff, not like a long drag puff either, like just puff. It was good stuff. And that's why we're going back next year and we're going to stay for 2 weeks because I was so blitzed. And the other part was where we stayed was like the tourist area and a lot of foreigners come in that area and they know what stoners like. So a block away from the hotel was a Taco Bell, and 10 minutes past that, if you took a taxi, was a Burger King. So for the first 4 days I was there, I just ate Taco Bell and Burger King. Florian ate Thai food. I didn't even know. I need my stoner food. So anyway, that's why Teresa got mad at you. As crazy as it sounds, her hands were tied. She couldn't fix it to me. Oh. Wait, so if I'm understanding this, you got mad at me because you couldn't help me because we were like thousands of miles apart? Well, I'm sorry. Guys, she back to lamb status now. I don't want her to be the lion. Let me know if she's at lamb status. We want to keep her at lamb status, okay? Yeah, you're right, guy. Because seeing how Florian took charge, she was the one that got us through the airports. She was the one that handled all of that. She was the one. I'm not kidding when I say when we would take walks in Bangkok, I had no idea where I was. I was literally like zombie. Like that's how strong this stuff was. And I would just say to Florian, "Do you know where we're at?" She's like, "Yeah." You know how to get back to the hotel? She's like, "Yeah." All right, I'm fine. There you go. Like I felt I was able to trust her. Not that I didn't trust her already, but I felt like I didn't have to be alert for anything. I could actually just let my brain totally flatline and just sit. And because she wasn't saying like, let's go here and let's go there. She waited for me to say it. Because I was starting to feel bad. Like that first night we got there, we slept like most of Friday before we went out. And I started feeling bad. Like you know, do you want to go out? And is there something you want to? And she's like, no, I want you to rest. That's what you need to do. That's what I want you to do. She's like, I'm fine. And it was like, great. Like I wasn't able to, like there were no dogs barking because they got to go outside and there's no dogs barking. And I don't hear roosters and I don't hear terrible karaoke singing. There was none of that. I got to sleep and it was good sleep and the beds were amazing. In our first room, we had like a balcony, so I could smoke on that balcony, but then we had to change rooms the last 2 days. And we were like the floor just above the roof, but the roof was turned into a terrace, which they allowed 24-hour smoking. So I would just go upstairs, take a puff, exhale, and come back downstairs. So it was a great trip, but I also have a better appreciation for her now because it was getting to a point where I would get impatient. Like, I wasn't appreciating the fact that English is not like her first or second language, it's her fourth. So sometimes she might get a word confused or something. What's wrong with you? Like, but it's better now. she's much more considerate of, you know, my condition. And like I said, it brought us closer together. That's the best feeling, to feel safe and calm with someone. Yeah, that's better than what I said. I felt safe with her out in a country I had never been to before, and in a country she had never been to before. But she stepped her game up. And I mean, like, her emotional maturity just like, it just hit. But I think that was a time where she was actually able to be responsible for something, and she stepped the game. But like, Florian's the baby, so she don't have to do much growing up. More sabotage. Oh wait, sorry. Monique was a big. Oh, we don't have to talk about Chubbs. Yeah, but remember this guy. Monique then called after I like had my, let her know I didn't appreciate her trying to hit my people up for money. She called the vet and actually canceled that appointment that Teresa had first made. Teresa had to make it again. Like, that's why I say blood doesn't make you family. Blood makes you a relative. Loyalty, love, kindness, care, respect. That's what makes you family. That's what makes you family. I got tons of relatives, and God forgive me, it's been a struggle forgiving them. And that's why I said we should have been done with the forgiveness part of my Bible study months ago. But I told my church elder, I'm not done with this. I still have to work through this. So that brought us closer together. At no point when me and Florian ever had an argument did I say get out. She's offered to leave, but I've never kicked her out. Because I remember the day we met in person, a voice came in my head and said, "That's your wife." And at the time, she wasn't the only woman I was talking to, but I heard that voice as clear as day. Like, the difference between your voice that says the things you want to hear, and then that voice of fear that says this might not be a good idea, but it's really not your gut instinct, it's just a voice. And then that voice that is coming from a higher authority. And that was the voice that told me, this is your wife. And it was great. I didn't think so either, guy. I was just afraid to call. Because last time we spoke, I got the lion. And the lion was a beast. But like I said, once the dust has started settling when I was first here back in 22, you start putting pieces together and you start getting ready to move forward. And I miss Teresa. I don't know why we connected, but I'm not angry. But we're not talking. And we need to be talking. And that's when I sent the email. And then I didn't expect a response right away. But then when I got the response, I'm like, oh my God, we're talking. We're talking. Yay! Like, that's kind of how it was. The whole kicking your wife out BS during arguments is very childish. I agree. That's why I wouldn't do it. I would never do it. Because that's kind of like you're trying to have power over somebody. And I don't think that's a good idea. You should work more towards resolution than, trying to have power over somebody. Yeah, I was very happy too. My assistant wasn't, because, like I said, she was Kathy Bates. But yeah, I was very happy too. So, come back from Bangkok. Everything you said, Teresa, you were keying in on what I was thinking as I was telling you the story, because I was thinking that as I was telling the story, but you were saying it before the thought completely processed in my brain. when you're talking about it was jealousy, and when you're talking about like she was in his head. When the way he was talking yesterday, you could tell when he kept like putting them into the conversation. Yeah, they were the ones that blew this out of proportion. But he did apologize to me. We hugged because I'm not trying. Like he is a good guy. He's just in a bad situation, and being a former victim of narcissistic relationships in the past, I know what he's going through. And they confuse you to a point where you don't know what to do. But they're love bombing you at 1 minute, and then you're thinking, okay, this is different. Their behavior is different right now, but maybe if I give in to this, she'll go back to how it was when we first got together. The problem is that wasn't her when you first got together. That was her pretending. You're seeing her now. That's the real her. Oh, hi Bella. Thanks for coming in. How are you? I'm just sharing what's been going on for the past 6 months. Hence why I've been on for 2 hours. Teresa and Guy pretty much know all of this because Wind Whispers, she knew a lot of stuff that was going on too because I talked to you too. So anyway, so the thing that I appreciated that he did, he asked if he could apologize to Florian. And I wasn't there for the apology. I had to watch Brandon because Brandon was trying to like break through the door. And Brandon, he is a year and 3 months. When we tie him up, there's a rebar at the top of the wall in the backyard that's inside of a cemented cinder block. When he pulls, because Rhodesian Ridgebacks were used to take down lions in South Africa, that's what they were bred to do for the South African hunters. He pulled the rebar where it broke the cinder block, where it started coming out of the cinder block when he was trying to pull to get at whoever was coming like to the house. So yeah, I had to hold him. But Florian said he did apologize. He told her, he did overreact and he was sorry that he did. And he did say he misjudged and he should have given us the benefit of the doubt. And that was all I wanted. Because I remember he said, like, all I can do is apologize. And that's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking you to do anything else. I'm not telling you got to buy me something or take me shopping. No. If you know you're wrong, just apologize because that's what I would do for you. And I honestly think that he realized in that moment he got played. And see, here's one thing I know Florian would have done. If the tables were turned where I had to borrow money from him, she would have come with me to support me. His wife was sending him by himself. Like, you go do it. I don't get it, but honestly, I would, like Florian's proven that she's a ride or die, and she's my ride or die, and I guess God really thought I was something special because He gave me a virgin, so any tread marks are only coming from me. Yeah. I didn't care if she was a virgin or not. I'll be totally honest. Actually, when that conversation came up, she lied and said she wasn't a virgin. And I was like, I don't care. And then she told me she was. The wind is crazy here. My signal keeps circling. How are you tonight? Yeah. You guys are out there in the province, as they would call it here in the Philippines. But I worry about him because at one point he's going to realize this is not good. But at the same time, he's not going to know how to get out of it. And I was in that same situation in 2019. But unlike him, me and my ex back home in America, the narcissist, we had separate places. She had her place, I had my place. Her place was terrible. My place was nice. She had a car, I had a car. You know, I didn't have like, it wasn't like, well, if I break up with her, I no longer get this. She did like, she enjoyed cooking, so she cooked a lot, but I know how to cook too. Like I had more stuff in my house. I had like a juice presser, a juicer, I had a food processor, I had the blender, I had a toaster oven, and like I had all kind of stuff. So like I know how to cook. So there, haha. So I think he's also afraid to be alone. Those are the only people he really knows here, besides me, and she knows that. And I think her goal was if she blocks him off from me, where his behavior would have had me seriously in 2018, it would not have gone down like that because I did not have Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior in 2018. It would have went off completely different, where it had been exchanges of F you this and F you that. And yeah, well, that's why, we have a car and you don't. And I'm like, that's why your wife looks 60 and she's only 39. And, it would have been ugly because back then I would make things ugly. But that was a different person back then. So, I'm still going to be there for him. He's going to need somebody to talk to. And as Christ teaches us, love your neighbor as you love yourself. When I first got here, I didn't have anybody to talk to, except when I called Teresa and when I called Violet Witch. And at that time, when I talked to Amber, which I don't know what happened to her channel, but I didn't have a lot. I couldn't talk to my relatives anymore. It took me about 3 months to finally tell somebody what happened to me when I first got here in Manila. I was that embarrassed by it. But once I realized the reason it happened was my own fault, I didn't take the Holy Spirit. I didn't keep my faith. I didn't practice my faith. When I got here, I got arrogant. I accepted that, felt the shame of it, repented, got back in the faith, got back in my Bible, got back in church, got back into studying. The blessings kept building up and building up and building up and building up. And this is what you have now. That's why instead of having a whore for a wife, I have a good woman, who loves to sing karaoke, which is an acquired taste, but, makes her happy. Sing all you want. He's not in that situation. And I think he's in denial about what's going on. So the only thing I can do is support him as best I can while he's going through it. And when that dam breaks, and it will break, be there to help him out. And like I spent most of our conversation yesterday explaining to him what being a Christian means, understanding that it's not for us to judge. I know a lot of people get flippant, when you're holding them accountable for things and they'll say, well, only God can judge me. But no, it's true. They're not using it in the right context, but it's true. It's not for me to judge you. Joe Biden, of all people, said this when he debated Sarah Palin back in 2008. And he was talking about a mistake he made when he first became a senator. And one of the senior senators kind of pulled him aside and like checked him and said, and it said this: you can question a man's judgment, but never question his motives. So if I question your judgment, I think you're making a bad decision there. I don't think that's going to work the way you want it to. You can do that. But to say, you know what? If you do that, you're a terrible Christian. You're a terrible human. Now you're judging a character. You're calling a character into question. We don't have a right to do that, especially for somebody that's never done anything. And what I said to my neighbor was, I would have thought by this point, the things we've shared with each other, the friendship that we've built in a short amount of time, you would have given us the benefit of the doubt that what it looked like may not be what it is. Yeah, he got it. Yeah, the drama is for the birds. Uncle Ledwin has a great channel. Yeah, Uncle Edwin came in here and blessed me, Bella. I was so flattered and honored that he came by to say hi. I thought that was great. I really did. I appreciated that. So that's what's happened over the past 6 months. Um, I'm gonna be back sooner because I think, like, I don't know, being on panel with Ricky and Lucy last night was it kind of motivated me again. Like for a while, I just wasn't feeling it, but I don't know. Things are reaching a point here where I'm looking to do more positive things, and I'm in discussions with somebody about you know maybe doing a joint venture, a collab, as they call it in these YouTube streets, and come with some ideas. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I'm going to keep the collab potential collaborator. Let me keep that under wraps for now. I think it'd be a pleasant surprise that everybody would like. And I had mentioned this a while back, but it didn't happen then. But hopefully it'll happen now. But everybody that listened, that peeked in, I want to say thank you so much for coming in. And you're fun too, as long as you're in lamb status. So you should change your name to whatever mood you're in. So if you come up as lion, I know not to do much. And then if you come in as lamb, hey, she's good. We're good. We're safe, guy. We're safe. But everybody, Bella, Juilliard, T. Marie, Uncle Edwin, Wind Whispers, I didn't forget you. But thanks everybody for coming in. It was great to be back. I had a lot of fun. And so I'll leave you guys with a little catchy tune that you can sing while you're in the shower. And I'll be back soon, I promise.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to test your sit down. I'm going to test your mental coordination with a little sit down with a little number called swinging the alphabet.
Swing it, brother. Swing it.
Right, swing it. Right up. I'll explain it so even you can understand. My colleagues will assist. Ready, sister? Let's get that junk out of here. Come on, boys. Scram. I'll give you the idea in a nutshell. B-A bay, B-E-B, B-I bicky by, B-O bo. I'll give you the correct demonstration. Cutie pie, pound those horse teeth.
B-A bay, B-E-B, B-I bicky by, B-O bo, bicky by bo, B-U boo, bicky by bo boo. C-A-say, C-E-C, C-I sicky-si, C-O so, sicky-si so, C-U sue, sicky-si so, sue.
Get the idea, girls? Now we'll all join together on the letter D.
D-A-day, D-E-D, D-I dicky-di, D-O-do, dicky-di-do, D-U-do, dicky-di-do-do. F-A-bay, F-B-B, F-I bicky-bi, F-O-fo, bicky-bi-fo, F-U-foo, bicky-bi-fo-foo. G-A-J, G-E-G, G-I jicky-jai, G-O-jo, jicky-jai-jo, G-U-ju, jicky-jai-jo-ju, la-da-da-da, F-J-A, H-E-E, H-I hicky-hi, H-O-ho, hicky-hi-ho, H-U-hoo, hicky-hi-ho-ho. J-A-J, J-E-G, J-I jicky-jai, J-O-jo, jicky-jai-jo, J-U-ju, jicky-jai-jo-ju.
K-A-K, K-E-T, K-I kicky-kai, K-O-ko, kicky-kai-ko, K-U-ku, kicky-kai-ko-ku. L-A-lay, L-E-lee, L-I licky-lie, L-O-lo, licky-lie-lo, L-U-lu.
Early's a dope. M-A-May, M-E-me, M-I Mickey, my M-O-mo, Mickey, my mo, M-U-moo, Mickey, my mo, moo.